Greg Sankey and comments from the Big Ten leave the future of the college football playoff in limbo. We have talked about this at length, and now sources have officially come out. Sources to On3 have officially come out that the Big Ten will not back down from its college football playoff format that it wants after 2025, unless the SEC goes to 9 conference games. Now, again, to recap, the Big Ten wants automatic qualifiers for every conference. That's 4 automatic qualifiers for the SEC, 4 for the Big Ten, 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, 1 for the Group of 5, and then either 1 or 3 at-large teams, depending on how many make the actual playoff. The SEC just wants the top 5 conference champions, and the next 11 teams just seeded however they are, just the best 11 teams. That's what the SEC wants, or the next 9, depending on how many are in there. The Big Ten would get on board with the SEC's automatic qualifier model if the SEC went to 9 games. The SEC can't get an agreement from its coaches on 9 games, but Greg Sankey is so gung-ho on the automatic qualifier format that he's begging for a 9-game schedule. So while that was reported by On3, specifically Brett McMurphy on Wednesday, at the same time, Greg Sankey, speaking on ESPN in an interview Wednesday during SEC Media Days, pretty much was big with Heather Dinich that he wants a 9-game slate for the SEC. And he said a decision will be expected in the coming weeks or months. And he said, quote, "I think we should be working towards that." And he added, "My life doesn't end if we don't." There's this absolutist notion that he's going to dictate what's going to happen. I think we should have an adult conversation. We should be able to make a decision. I think 9 games would promote great interest through the year, but it would be hard to coach. I've had candid conversations with coaches. I've told them that. There's 2 reasons the SEC doesn't want to go to 9 games. Actually, 3 big reasons. One, it lessens the path to a bowl game for the mid-tier to lower-tier schools that just want to get to 6-6. The Kentuckys of the world that are content getting to 6-6 every year to get to a bowl game and get that payout. Gets a lot harder with a 9th conference game. 2, you go from 7 to 8 home games a year to 6 to 7 home games a year, which is a significant decrease in payment for you if that happens. 3, 9 conference games for the SEC is significantly tougher than 9 conference games for the Big Ten. The Big Ten doesn't want to hear that. The Big Ten is still very top heavy. That could change given their TV deals recently because of the gap in TV money. They're about to be able to buy a lot more talent, the mid-tier schools are, than the SEC. So that could change in the near future. But as of right now, 9 conference games is much tougher for the SEC than it is for the Big Ten. Okay. And all you have to do is look at the 2024 strength of schedule. The reason I say that, by the way, is because all the teams in the SEC competing for college football playoff appearances do play 1 major out-of-conference game usually. Indiana played 2 Group of 5 teams that had losing records last year and a Division II school, and then played 8 of their 9 games in the Big Ten were against the 8 worst teams in the Big Ten. So you're telling me they played a tougher schedule by having a 9th Big Ten game? No, they did it, okay? And if you go just by the FPI last year in terms of strength of schedule, all you have to do is look at that. Georgia had the top strength of schedule. Mississippi State, number 3. Texas, number 6. Florida, number 7. Kentucky, number 8. Oklahoma, number 9. Penn State, number 10. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SEC schools in the top 10. And you had just 2 or 3 Big Ten schools, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. So that's the other factor. The final one, and this is the biggest one. From a money situation, 9 conference games means 8 less games overall. Now, that's 8 less Tennessee versus Austin Peay State on SEC Network at 4 games, at 4 in the afternoon games. Okay. The 8 less games for those extra big marquee conference games, ESPN wants, because the payout for those marquee conference games are worth 3 times as much as Tennessee Austin Peay at 4 on SEC Network. So they're fine with that. It doesn't change, though, for the schools. The schools get the same payout from the TV stations regardless. So what you're really seeing is just 8 less games, period, for schools. That's 8 less actual games to bring in ticket revenue, because you go from 128 total games played by schools to 120 if they have to play each other, and they each reduce a conference game. Because of that, the SEC is going to have to demand a lot more money from the TV, from the ESPN in their contract if they're going to give them a night conference game. And it won't just be enough to make up the losses of those 8 games. It's going to have to be enough to make up the losses of the potential bowl berths that they're going to get, that they're going to lose, and a lot of other things if they're going to go to 9 games. So let's play a little hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. City Heat and Air, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. CityHeatandAir.com. There's pretty much now 3 options of what's going to happen after 2025. Now, for 2025, the college football playoff format this year is this: the top 5 conference champions, and then the 7 best teams outside of that. And then they seed them straight seeding 1 through 12, where the top 4 teams get a bye, no automatic first-round byes. And the first weekend games are played on campus at on-campus venues. Here's where we get interesting. There's only 3 options. The first option is the playoff stays as it is at 12 teams through 2026 with no changes. I'm cold on that. I mean, I don't like the byes really that much. I see a way to fix it. I'd rather reduce the playoff. That's not going to happen than expand it. I mean, then keep it as is. I just think there's too many issues. So I'm actually cold on that. And I think that's kind of a problem if it goes that way. I'm just going to be honest with you. Option number 2. The SEC caves. The Big Ten wins out. The automatic qualifier format happens. But it happens with 14 teams, not 16. I'm cold on that, but if overall, in terms of it's not my favorite option, but I'm hot on it if that's one of your only options, because at least that puts value in the conference races. In the automatic qualifier format, you wouldn't have an SEC championship game to determine the champion. The team that finishes first in the league during the regular season would get the number 1, would be the champion. The SEC championship game, SEC title game weekend, would be play-in games for the 3rd best team, the 4th best team, the 5th best team, and the 6th best team in the conference. Okay, I'm a big fan of that. Add some value, make it fun. I wouldn't do 3, 6, 4, 5. Honestly, I would just do 4 versus 5. Have them play each other for the chance to go. And I wouldn't go based on conference standings if you do this. I would do the top 4 ranked teams in the conference. That's how I would imagine this. Okay, I'm actually hot on that. That brings more value to the conference races. That would make it fun. The final possibility that I think will happen, given what Greg Sankey is saying, is up next. First, hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
All right, the final option, and this is what I think is going to happen. The SEC moves to 9 games and gets a better TV deal from ESPN in the process, a significantly better one. ESPN's already getting a steal on this. They might cave on this because also here's why ESPN would cave on this. If the SEC moves to 9 games and makes it a 9-game schedule, the college football playoff expands to 16 teams. ESPN doesn't just get a better deal from the SEC with an extra conference game. They also get a better deal with more college football playoff games. Okay, because at that point, you're adding 4 other college football playoff games. ESPN would love that. So it's a huge win-win for ESPN in that moment. And I think when you take that into account, they would willingly give the SEC a huge deal for that. Timothy McGee says, so what you're saying is FCS is better at the playoff structure. I see what FCS is doing and mirror it. I mean, that's a fair point, but there are some TV revenue things that have to be worked out, Timothy, and things like that. There's bowl payouts. There's other political things that go in when you go to the FBS level. So I think the long end of this is that ESPN will cave and actually give the SEC a better deal. They would not give the deal that the Big Ten has gotten, and the SEC will still be making significantly less than the Big Ten all the way through 2034. And that's the SEC's fault for signing a dumb contract in the first place. However, it's not just what ESPN will benefit from with that new deal. So here's what the SEC is going to do. they're going to go to ESPN. They're going to go to the Big Ten and say, if I can get the conference to a 9-game schedule, will you agree to a 16-team playoff with the 5+11 format? The Big Ten will say yes. They will get that in writing. Greg Sankey will then go to ESPN and say, this is what we have. This is what we need in an increase to go to 9 conference games. He'll talk to the athletic directors at the universities next and say, what do we need to get to 9 conference games? How much extra do you want from the cable networks? He'll tell them what they can get. They'll come up with a number. Then he'll go to ESPN and say, we need this much extra in our contract to be able to go to 9 conference games. ESPN will say, we don't know if we want to pay that much. Greg Sankey will say, I have it in writing from the Big Ten that we can expand the playoff to 16 teams, not just 12, if you go to 9 conference games for us if you give us this new deal. At that point, ESPN will cave, because it's not just a win for the SEC to have a 9th game. It's a win because ESPN gets 4 extra college football playoff games to carry. Because as of right now, the college football playoff is still on ESPN. I don't know if that'll change, but that's how it's going to play out. So we'll see how it all works out, but I think that's going to be how it ends. That's going to be the best win-win for everybody.